what I show is I'm one person, and this one person did these things, and I hope that you and you and you, as one person, if you see that there's something that you think should be changed, you can do the same thing.
You are watching On the Road Again, and I'm Sal, and here's Rick.
How you guys doing? Welcome to On the Road Again. Today we have Rosemary D'Alessandro, we have Michael D'Alessandro, and we have John. And we're here today to honor Joan D'Alessandro, whom we lost back in 1973. Should start telling you a little bit about Joan. Her favorite color was green.
Her favorite color is green. That's why I have the green shirt on.
That's why we are all wearing green.
And here's green butterflies on here.
Favorite song was Ode to Joy.
Ode to Joy, yeah.
And she was a happy, loving child. And unfortunately, her life was taken by a man who also sexually molested her. And something that Rosemary had to come to terms with, live with, and turn into a positive. And so she decided to spend the rest of her life being an advocate for all the children and all the families, so that this would not ever happen to them, or at least limit it in any way possible. Mm-hmm. And I should also say that we're related, that Joan was my cousin, and this happened when I was 14 years old. We reconnected on Facebook. So giving you some history, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This
is a great opportunity to get this message out to people that don't know about this story, and to bring more awareness to the subject.
Exactly.
And then they'll have knowledge and strength from it. You know?
Okay, so basically the way to change things is legislatively. I mean, changing the way people think about things is probably harder, but it doesn't get you anyplace anyway. The only way to really do it is legislatively. And at the time of Joan's murder, the laws didn't fit, the penalty didn't fit the crime in any which way. So I guess I would ask you to start there. You know, when you realized that, when you realized, you know, you had to do something because just for the injustice in the laws.
Okay. In 1993 is when I started the movement, and it was important at that time to keep the killer of Joan in prison. I was told by the prosecutor's office that if I didn't fight, he had a very good chance to come out, because he had gotten life, and life meant 14 years, and already he was in prison for 20 years. So I knew from that moment that something had to change, and it changed my life, because I went from not being an advocate, did not know about advocacy, didn't even think that way, that something had to change, something had to move. So we got about 100,000 signatures, and that went down to the parole board. And the people spoke, and they did not want this killer to come out, and that's what they had to hear. Then then we had a green ribbon campaign. I have a green ribbon on now. We all have green ribbons on, because the green ribbon means remember Joan today, so tomorrow's children will be safe. So then what we did was, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, we had to work at this, and it took like months and months. But it was so important, and then people saw that it was so important to fight, that they started their circle, and another person started their circle, and they started getting signatures, and they started getting letters. So that's how a movement started, and it was all grassroots from the people. So then, from there, I saw that if we had had a law that said no parole ever for a person like Joan's killer, we wouldn't have to be going through, my family, myself, wouldn't have to be going through, our community wouldn't have to be going through all this. And I said, I think something has to be changed. I knew if we got some changes, it wouldn't be retroactive. It wouldn't deal with us. We wouldn't. A law would not matter to us because it was not, it would not be retroactive. We would still have to go through appeals. We would still have to testify. We would still have to go through all that kind of pain. But it had to stop. It had to stop. Someone had to do it. So no one had done it previously. So I says, well, I'm going to do it. We got to do it. This is how we change society for the better. So that's how it started, and that's how the laws started. And that was in '97, the first law, and that was Joan's law. It took 3 years to get that through, because remember, I had to bring Joan alive. Joan was not, for 20 years, it was more quiet about Joan. It was anniversaries, it was birthdays, it was, like having pictures in the house, because I had Michael and John after Joan died. And so Michael and John would get to know more about Joan that way, and that's what, like in a gentle way, right? So, but the pictures were nice to have. It was good, right, Michael? It was good, John, right?
Yes.
It was good. So then we went to the laws. '97, Governor Whitman signed the first law, and that was in front of the Hackensack prison, the jail, in New Jersey. And then I saw that, why don't we have something like national?
Right.
Something more for all the states. So I knew that at that time, I was told by Congressman Bob Franks, who helped a lot, and he said that we could go federal, because federal meant all of the United States but on federal property. So in 1998, October 30th, the federal Joan's Law was signed by the President Bill Clinton. And, I'm kind of going quickly through it. There's lots of steps. But if anybody wants to learn about how to, do a law, pass a law, how to work a law, you can get in touch with me. And I'll tell you whatever I know in a grassroots way.
You were a lobbyist, pretty much, for this. Would you say it was lobbying?
No, not lobbyist. I never lobbied. It was more just being a squeaky wheel.
Now, a lot of this you did, you told me you did this from bed. You weren't feeling well yourself. A lot of this you ended up doing as you were ill.
Yeah, see, I work with myasthenia gravis since my 20s. So what happens is that you have like abnormal tiredness and weakness, okay? And at that time, when I was going for the third law, which was the Justice for Victims law, which puts no statute of limitations on time to sue the criminal, okay?
Right.
And that happened because, too, of what we went through, but by the time we got it through, the killer had spent all his money on lawyers, okay? But still, we got this law, Justice for Victims law, where people, could get, monies from the perpetrator,
or inheritance.
Yeah, inheritance.
But it was 2 years.
It was 2 years.
It was only 2 years, but
No.
you really are responsible for changing it where there's no statute of limitation of that, and that is for the whole country.
No,
And
that's for New Jersey.
But that's just
for New Jersey.
Okay.
And I have to tell you, that I did a lot of research on. It took about 17 months. I would go to lawyers. I would go to anyone who I thought could help. And then in dealing with everybody, there was this one lawyer, and he was from New Jersey. He was very, very helpful, this attorney. and getting everybody's ideas, put this law together, okay? Put this law together. And what I show is I'm one person, and this one person did these things, and I hope that you and you and you, as one person, if you see that there's something that you think should be changed, you can do the same thing.
You have the power.
You can do it.
Because you gave them the power.
Well,
Because
I don't give them the power.
I know you don't think of this as yourself.
Yeah,
I know that you're
yeah.
selfless in this, Rosemary.
Yes.
And I know
Yeah,
your sons have
yeah.
both told me that.
Yeah.
But it is something to highlight because, you know, a child, most innocent of all of us, least able to protect themselves. If they don't have other voices speaking for them, we're in trouble. And most of this, like you had said, is not retroactive to Joan's case and even to yourself. So selflessly, you did this for everybody else and all the other children. And I know Joan's foundation does other things that we'll get into, and the audience can check out the website to see what you do. But this really is something, because you received other amazing awards because of this, because people have noticed. And when you have a daughter, and you know, this is a great deterrent where you've made America's children safer, and so you need to be commended for that. And you won't do it for yourself. I know you won't.
I am, you know, proud of the work I do, and I feel comfortable with it because I see a bigger picture. But of course, it starts with Joan. It starts with my family. It starts with me. But I feel good about it because it doesn't stop there. Sincerely stop there. So you were talking about, like we were talking about, like, so I have myasthenia gravis, and I remember when I was working on on the third law and then the fourth law, a lot of times I was in bed, and I used to be in bed maybe for 5 months, and I would get up. But, you know, I had that same way of thinking. If I could do an hour now when I have some energy, and then tomorrow maybe an hour and 5 minutes, and the next day an hour and 7 minutes, I mean, I'd be so happy. So that's where I used to put my goal, and in my mind, it kept me focused on something positive. So I think that even helped me to get, you know, better faster. But I used to talk on the phone to the people, you know, when I was in bed. John remembers, right, John? How I would do that?
And you guys, I know you would.
Yeah, you
Tremendous
remember.
support system.
Remember, you'd give me the phone.
We give her the phone.
It's,
To the
I-
event that she couldn't go to.
And you received the
represent.
Courage Award for her when you received the
Yeah,
Courage
because
Award
she couldn't get down
in
to
2004, and you got that from the Attorney General.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
And you
John.
received it.
Yeah, I went to Washington D.C. to receive it for her.
Excellent. I want to say, if we've spoken a few times, and then I tried to think about what you were saying, and you've taught me a whole lot, just by speaking with you. But there are a few words that we throw out every day when we're just in conversation, and I think you have a different interpretation of a lot of those words. So I want to say a word, and I want you to talk about it a little bit. Would you
Okay.
do that?
Okay.
Forgiveness.
But I didn't do the other stuff with the
Get to
laws.
it.
We'll get to
Oh,
it.
okay.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness is complicated. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you just say the word forgive and that's it. Forgiveness means that you free yourself. And that's what I did. I freed myself. And I don't feel hate. I don't feel revenge. I believe in justice, as you could see, and you need to have always the care for the innocent person. Forgiveness means, to me, means like having confidence in yourself. But just certainly it frees. I don't have animosity
So you don't have hate. That was my
No.
next word, hate, because
No.
many people in your situation would have to
No.
combat that,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, I want to say devil, that kind of, they have to combat that, and you don't have that. You wouldn't, you told me you would not have been able to do or achieve what you did for Joan and for other people if you kept that in your gut.
I couldn't be who I am. I couldn't be Rosemary, you see, because all that would be controlling me. There was enough that controlled me. I had this killer take my most precious little girl away in the most horrendous way.
Yeah.
So how could I have something controlling me more? And that would be hate, and that would be revenge, and that would be having in your head all the time, like in that kind of way, you know? And because it's going to be one or the other. It was going to be one or the other, okay? And that's the way I thought of it. So I kind of used my head a little bit, you know, to figure out like what was the best way to do. And then I think also, you know, spiritually, it's good spiritually. Spiritual has to do, you know, with the inside of you, like your innermost parts, and that is, you know, like, you know, God. I believe God speaking, and I believe that, you know, I was fortunate, you know, to believe what I believe in my faith.
So your faith had
Yes,
tremendous amount.
yeah, it helps.
Let's
It
get
helps.
Big Whoop. That was one of our favorite sayings. And oh boy,
Oh yeah.
she used to say oh boy, and Big Whoop, you
yeah,
told me.
yeah.
But I thought it was cute because she would had an outstanding way for a 7-year-old to deal with when people were like freaking out about something small. She would say Big Whoop, like no, don't make a big deal out of something. I thought that was cute.
Or she'd take like say this. She would take something light and say, oh boy, like, oh boy, Michael, oh boy, like that.
Like don't make a big
with
deal.
her eyes, and then she would say, like, like, you think like you're so great. Well, big whoop to you.
The laws. Now, I know we want to go back to that only because the legislation is so powerful, and you made such a 180 in what it really is now. The statute of limitations as far as suing the offender has totally changed. 18 and
No
under.
more statute now. No more.
Right,
statute.
none. 18 and under
That
now.
means like if something took place 50 years ago,
Still.
that person could sue if the perpetrator was writing a book or something and get
Right.
the monies from the book.
So, and that's justice, and in my opinion, I mean, maybe
No, it's as much justice as can be.
as can be.
Yeah. Because you
Thank
still don't have the person.
You don't have the person,
Yeah.
right? But I understand that.
Right.
I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying.
So that's,
I mean,
it's still okay. It's still okay.
exactly.
It's still okay.
But it's I look at it as preventive too, because people do think before they act, and if the punishment wasn't what you're making it, we have other children that are more vulnerable, and that's the point. You also made it was 14 years and younger.
Like under 14.
Under 14, but you, because of the legislation, it became 18. Am I
Okay,
correct?
what we did was the first one was under 14, and that was Jones Law, New Jersey. That was in '97.
Right.
The second one was
The federal.
the federal '98, right? The third one, John, was
2004.
Justice
New
Victims
York,
Law,
New York.
2001.
Wait, okay, that was in 2000, right? 2000, Justice Victims Law. Then in 2004, we got
The New York Jones Law.
the New York Jones Law.
And that's when he was
And that's under
sentenced for
14.
30 years.
That's under 14.
No, that was the parole eligibility. The New York Jones
Okay.
Law is the same as New Jersey. It's just in another
Right.
state.
So Jones Law, let me just read this and tell me if I'm correct. It requires life imprisonment without parole for persons convicted of the murder of a minor under the age of 18 in the course
Well, that's
of
the fifth. That's the fifth law.
That's
Okay.
how it is now.
The one that we had, the first law, was under 14.
So is this the most current?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
so
the
this
fifth
is
law.
really the the culmination of all your work.
Yeah, well, that's the
Would you say?
Jones Law. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
in
This
New
is
Jersey.
the really
Yeah,
impossible
yeah,
one.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is what you gravitated to. It took you,
Yes.
would you say, 2 decades?
It took to get the law now, like in 2017, that was just signed on July 21st. To get that one through, it took 7 years. 7 years.
Wow.
And all we were doing was expanding it to under 18, because the first Jones Law we had in New Jersey was under 14. And so but you know what? It just shows that even though it was very hard, that with the hard work of the movement, of all the people together, all the legislators, the reporters that worked on it, everyone that worked on it, Michael and Joan worked on it, that you just keep on plugging and go for something very important, and it worked. Yay, it worked.
We had the signing for the New York law at the site where Joan was found 3 days after she died in Rockland County, outside the entrance of Harriman State Park. We had the signing with the governor of New York, and that law was modeled after the New Jersey law, so it is only under 14 right now.
Okay. Currently.
Yeah, and that was...
But it's still under 14.
Right, yeah, that was hard to pass because there's not that many, they told us, mandatory laws in New York State with a sentence that is mandatory and not decided by the judge. And we had to make the argument that this situation was serious enough where there couldn't be any flexibility. So, but it did get done.
Didn't it become the first mandatory sentencing?
Yes. I think in this kind of area, it's
mandatory. It was the first mandatory life sentence. The first law that
What, John?
required a mandatory life sentence for the crime that was committed.
The first time for anything.
I'm curious, did you all go and argue these cases in court? Did you actually have, or was it more done through...
No, I mean, it's really about cultivating the sponsors, so to get legislators that want to be part of the team to help you. So you need primary sponsors and co-sponsors. And that's just, the way Mom would approach it is over time, kind of building a relationship and convincing them of the importance of doing this, that they should put their time and effort into it, and then they will help to talk to their colleagues to get it spreading and building up.
Did you find that you had to pull teeth with some people, yet some people were more willing? And who would you say were the most willing? And if you had to put 2 or 3 people together that you'd want to say helped you with this and got you this far, who would you say they were?
I would say legislative aides. Certain legislative aides were magnificent. The first one I dealt with was a 24-year-old legislative aide, and that was the first one in New Jersey. And the ones in New York had to do with, they were at a higher level, they were even attorneys, but they were counsel to the head of the Senate, and at that time that was Sheldon Silver, and they were the interim for me, to get to him. And I never met these people. It was always on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
It was always on the phone.
Well, I think it was a lot with the phone that you had to sort of either networking or a lot of finding who's in charge, how to get to them, who works for them, and who might listen. And if that person's not listening, who's above them, and who could she connect with, and sort of
Constantly just persistence.
Develop a relationship. But it's a lot about she develops relationships. She has a genuine interest in what they're going through, and she, and she's out there, but she's not being pushy or too aggressive.
She's being compelling, but in a good way.
If she has to be aggressive, though, she will be.
Right.
But most of the time, she'll come with an understanding of what they're facing, and how to get through to them about the importance of this issue, and so they might work on it. And and that they might take it to the next person and say, okay, maybe talk to this person, and how can we develop a coalition that's going to work with her.
So what I heard from everything today is Mom's a superhero, and we all owe a debt of gratitude for everything you've done. Now, I also know we're coming to a close, and we can never get in, everything. But there are places for people to go. We want to show this. This is the website. There's a Facebook page. So we have the www.jonesjoy.org.
Yeah, there's a link to the
Yeah,
Facebook.
yeah,
on
no.
there.
Everybody should really look into this.
Yeah.
There's so many things that the foundation offers and has done and continues to do as children advocacy groups and raising money, or just having ceremonies. You guys have done so much good for so many people.
Yeah,
So-
most recently we funded a trip for some underprivileged children, a group of 50, to go to the Radio City Christmas
Right.
Spectacular last month before Christmas. So that was the most recent thing right now. And there's
So by
other
help-
programs.
By
yeah.
helping other children that are less fortunate at this point, you really are keeping Joan's spirit alive, because she was a happy-go-lucky kid. And would you say that would be correct? That
I would-
by giving joy to other kids, you're
Yeah.
keeping her life and her legacy.
Well, this is all her legacy, okay? Her legacy this year is going to be 45 years on April 19th. And on September 30th will be the 25th anniversary of the movement. So now Joan's legacy is really, giving children opportunities to have careers. For instance, with working dogs, that's one of the people that we work with and help. And and these children are very at-risk children. So my thought is to help children, and Joan would definitely go for this, because Joan believed in standing up for everybody. I mean, as little as she was standing up for the shy kid. She would stand up for the quiet kid. She would tell the kid that was being like too pushy, quit it. And that's the way she was. And that's the way Joan inspires me. Joan inspires me to stand up.
But I have one more thing to say. Meryl Streep, this is your next assignment. Hollywood, this is your next movie. I know we're just a cable show, but how this can be ignored, I personally have no idea, because something that changes everybody's lives for the better, that took your whole lifetime, and to endure
And
this
it's not
whole
finished.
thing.
It's not finished.
And it's not finished, it still keeps going,
It's
but
not
this
finished.
needs to be on a national stage, I feel. So Hollywood, watch this cable show. And people can donate through Facebook. They could do it
Yeah.
other ways as well, but there's multiple ways they can do that. And we spoke to you, we spoke about the Hug Revolution, that we're involved. We want you to know that we're going to be there at some future things we've already spoken about, playing and possibly performing, and we definitely want to, now that we know each other and a little bit better, and are developing more of a relationship, we want to be to give our time to something as honorable as this.
Do you want to explain about the white butterfly?
Yes.
Why do you
the
have a white?
butterfly.
You want to?
You want to tell us why the white butterfly? Why are you wearing a white butterfly?
Oh, it's for Joan.
That's
Well,
yeah.
Good job.
yeah.
You saw a white butterfly.
We sort of have a connection because my daughter likes butterflies too. And I saw one after her passing. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. It was destiny for us to meet today. I believe in destiny.
Definitely is. So we're going to do a lot of good together.
But with the white butterfly, who wants to say how it started? Michael or
Well,
Jim?
Yeah.
Why did
we-
I do white butterfly?
Yeah.
Why are we wearing white butterfly?
it just represents Joan, because after many years of being sick, Mom was able to go back and visit where she was found, and the white butterfly
And that
kind
was
of popped up from behind a rock.
Yeah.
And
that was in New York State, Harriman State
right,
Park.
yeah.
The site where Joan was found.
So it's a reminder of her presence and her energy, and is inspirational and for what the foundation is involved in.
So I want to thank you guys again. I mean, we never have enough time to go through everything, but I think we should continue this conversation. I think you guys are always welcome back. And when there are new developments in the law, Rosemary, and or
I don't
something,
know. The next development?
or anything at all that we want to talk about, something a show we're going to do together, we're going to bring you guys back on. Hopefully, you'll make it, and we'll continue this alliance, all in the name of Joan D'Alessandro, and keep her legacy alive, and in our hearts. So thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you for being so brave.
Thank you, honey. Thank you.
I need to